Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Sunbury Motors, North 4th Street in Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now, from the Sunbury Motors studio, here's Steve Jones.
Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. And online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Lincoln, Kia, Hyundai. Fabulous new inventory. Great selection of pre-owned inventory. The way everything is on this particular day, yes, Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. But maybe on this particular day, check everything out online at sunburymotors.com. Brett Veach scheduled in a few moments, Mount Carmel's own. The Mount Carmel High School grad is the general manager of the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll hear from him in a few minutes. He'll be calling in to us. First, our play-by-play call of the day, Kyler Edwards, deep three for Texas Tech against Oklahoma.
Shannon gives it up, and Edwards knocks it down with 4 on the shot clock.
That guy might be the X factor for this season. Kyler Edwards, who played 42 minutes in 2 Final Four games as a freshman.
That is Bob Wischusen with the play-by-play call, and who's terrific in his own right, and also Fran Fraschilla, whom I talked about yesterday. Fran Fraschilla is just one of those guys, to me, a really terrific analyst. Is that when the game is over, did you learn more about the game you were watching, and did you learn more about the game itself? Okay, Fran fills that bill for me every time I watch him, and he's terrific. College basketball tonight, Penn State in action against Wisconsin. The rematch will be at 8:30 tonight, and Dick and I will be on beginning at 8 o'clock this evening. And you'll hear it right here on News Radio 1070 WKOK. And then they've got Maryland coming up on Friday at 7, and then it's Michigan State after that. Then it's Nebraska after that. And away we go. See how many of these I can get in down the stretch. That's a big part of this. How many of these can you get in down the stretch? And Penn State's been able to get in the last 6. This will be 7 coming up tonight since coming back. Daniel Jeremiah draft from NFL Network. Number 9 prospect, Micah Parsons. Number 27, Jason Owe. Number 38, Patrick Freiermuth. So thought we'd pass that along as well. So there you go. And we're going to talk about the Super Bowl coming up. And not just the Super Bowl. I don't know how much I'm going to get into, like the game itself. Because what Brett Veach has done in roster construction is thoroughly brilliant. The contract with Mahomes, thoroughly brilliant, which opened the door for other contracts. You have to be so skilled in this game of not only evaluating personnel, which he personally did with Mahomes when he went down to Texas Tech, but then you have to be really, really good on the money aspect of it, of how to make the entire puzzle fit together and keep your core group together. And he's been able to do that. That's where the brilliance of all this comes into play. You know, he evaluates Patrick Mahomes. He thinks he's worth the pick. Okay? There's no getting around it. So, all right. So what we'll do here is we'll take a break. That'll then open the door so that when Brett calls in, we can get right into it and not have to be worried about the break. We'll do that. Step aside on News Radio 1070 WKOK. All right, great to have you with us on the show today. All right, Veach, in a few minutes, running a little bit behind. The Chiefs called us to let us know that, which is fine. Last time I checked, he's the general manager of a team in the Super Bowl, so something tells me that 4:15 or 3:15 Central Time is not going to be exactly on the nose. So if he's running behind, he still calls us. That's fine, perfectly fine. All right, so let's get to Mike Yurcich, the new offensive coordinator at Penn State. He met with the media today. Yeah, Mike is a lot like James Franklin, who, by the way, is celebrating his birthday today. Coach Franklin's 49 as of today. But, you know, he spent time in the PSAC, as did Mike Yurcich at Edinburgh and Shippensburg.
I went to Edinburgh, Pennsylvania, Division II school. I spent 6 years at Edinburgh and was coordinator for 5 of those years. Coached quarterbacks all 6 years. Lou Tepper was the head coach there my first year. Learned a lot from Lou, very detailed, organized coach. And then Scott Browning took over, learned a lot from Scott as well. From there, I went to Shippensburg, coached for Mark Macheski, awesome guy, great leader, and learned a lot from him from a structural standpoint. And a lot of the things I do today throughout my day, I did back then at Shippensburg as well.
It's interesting. Lou Tepper is one of that Mike worked with him because Lou Tepper is really a terrific defensive mind. Now, when you're an offensive guy, offensive core mind, you can learn a lot how to attack when you're around a great defensive mind, which is interesting. Okay, so from that point now is offense. What do you think the offense will look like in the end?
So it's not going to be a Mike Yurcich offense. It's going to be a Penn State offense. It's going to be an offense. There's 3 keys to it, really. Traits, if you will. 1, physical. We want to be a physical offense. 2, we want to be a smart offense. 3, we want to be a skilled offense. We're going to be a talented offense, obviously, from the players that we're able to recruit here at Penn State. But we want to be tough, smart, and skilled. Tough, smart, and skilled. And so when we line up, the most important thing is our players, how we line them up in formations and how we get them matched up. And lastly, it's plays. So players, formations, and plays. And, that's been the key to our success, having a physical mindset. And there's the game hasn't changed in over 120 years or however long it's been playing. It's still one up front. We got to be physical up front. We've got to do a great job recruiting up front. And then we have to put speed on the field. Playmakers. We got to have a guy behind the center that can make decisions and be accurate with the football. What kind of, quarterback is that? We've won with all kinds. Guys that can run it a little bit better than some, but the most important thing is we have to be able to throw it accurately. We have to be smart. We have to be tough. We have to be good leaders at that position. And we have to surround them with really good playmakers, guys that can make plays in space.
See, there's some key in that. Number one, he talks about the offensive line always being important because it is, and you still have to be able to run the football in today's game. Jack Ham and I are both big believers that you still need to run the ball. Now, it doesn't matter what order you're in. It does not matter if you feel you need to run it to set up your pass, because you can also pass to set up your run. But if you have some semblance of a threat of balance out there, the threat of it, that's how you keep defenses off balance, because you have the threat and the ability to do both well. What Mike Yurcich does that I really like in watching, I've watched some Oklahoma State video and I've watched a lot of Texas video. He does a great job of setting up matchups, especially on the outside. He sets up good matchups. And he also does a great job of setting up plays, sequences of plays, which then opens the door after he sets you up to take deep shots. Because he's got you thinking one way, and then he hits you finally with what he really wants. So what is he looking for in a quarterback? He didn't get specific about Sean Clifford. He wants that to be an evaluation to be saved for after spring practice. So what's he looking basically for in a quarterback?
Well, it's always a challenge, and you never want to think that you figured it out. So I take a humble approach, I'd like to think, into each job. I think we have to understand a couple different things at that position. What's really important is that our eyes have to be right and our feet have to be right. And if you have those two things going for you on each play, then you give yourself a chance for success. So I don't know what happened in the past, and I'm not here to judge that right, wrong, or indifferent. But what we'll do moving forward is make sure that the quarterback's his eyes are right. He knows where he's looking, where he needs to be looking, and wherever we tell him based on whatever particular scheme that we're running. So his focal point and his eyes are disciplined, and he's always steady with how he progresses through his progressions, how he moves through his progressions. And nextly is his feet. He's got to have a good platform. He's got to transfer his weight. Those are things that we can control, where our eyes are, our eye discipline and our feet discipline. And then on top of that, it's about the individual's accuracy and their talent level.
And so he'll get started. He already has started with making this happen. But again, I really like the way he sets up his sequences, where eventually he gets you conscious about something, and as soon as he feels that you're conscious of it, boom, he then makes it work against you, and he takes his shot at it. Right, very interesting. And look, he's got talent to work with. He didn't really get into the talent blueprint here, but you do have a quarterback going into his third season as the starter. You've got a dynamic wide receiver in Jahan Dotson, a tremendous prospect in Parker Washington. Now, what do you get on the other side? Do you get a real advancement from Keandre Lambert-Smith? Do you see something now from maybe Malik Mega? Do you see something from Norvell Black? We'll see how that works out. Or maybe somebody else coming in, like a Lonnie White. We'll find out what they want to do there. He's got running backs. Noah Cain will be back. Kevon Lee showed us a lot. Keziah Holmes, you like him. Get Devin Ford. And so you have a lot to work with here. And for the most part, a veteran offensive line. You lose Michael Menet. You lose Will Fries. You lose Pat Freiermuth. But between Brenton Strange and Theo Johnson, you saw the foundation of a very good tight end spot. You'll have a new tight end coach there because of Tyler Bowen. It looks like he's going to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars, but to go with Urban. But you look at the offensive line. As the season went along, Caden Wallace got better at the right tackle. Rasheed Walker has established himself as a very good left tackle. There's a good reason why Mike Miranda was second team All Big Ten. And Mike Miranda can give you time at center. He can give you time at guard. Des Holmes is a guy that I thought had a good chance to start till he got banged up in the preseason. So he'll be back healthy, ready to go. Then you got Juice Scruggs. Well, the more Juice Scruggs played last year, the more you were just impressed, and he just kept playing and playing and getting better and getting better. I was impressed by that. A young guy like Sal Wormley is somebody that has a lot of potential. So, they have a chance to have a very good offensive line. Very good offensive line. All right. I got to give you one Dustin Pedroia story. You'll love this. So Pedroia is not big in stature, as you know. He's listed at 5'9", but people around him will tell you that he's probably 5'7". So in the 2007 World Series, at this point, he is in his rookie season. He led off Game 7 against the Indians with a homer into the monster and left. Set the tone. They won it. They go to the World Series. The Red Sox go to Denver up 2-0. Now, I don't think... Now, Pedroia had never played in Denver before. So... the Red Sox are going into the clubhouse. Some are straggling in here and there, and he kind of straggled going in. And the guard stops him, won't let him in. He says, "Excuse me, who are you?" He says, I'm one of the Red Sox players. He says, really? He says, and who are you? I said, I'm Dustin Pedroia. Oh, you're Dustin Pedroia. Really? And then he looks at the guard and he says, why don't you ask Jeff Francis who I am? Jeff Francis was the starting pitcher in Game 1 of the World Series. And on the first pitch of the game, Pedroia again hit it into the monster seats in Game 1 of the World Series off of Francis. Why don't you ask Jeff Francis who I am?
That is amazing.
He's only 5'7". He didn't look at him. He's like David Ortiz walks in. You're like going, holy mackerel! Look at the size of that guy, right? Yeah. Jonathan Papelbon walks in. Good sized guy. Beckett, good sized guy. Okay. They all said, Veritek. Okay. Pedroia. Now remember, Pedroia's a rookie, so he's not really, quote, an established player. The guard's like, oops. Sorry. Let him in, and then away he goes. Hey, is the guy a Hall of Famer? I don't know. Probably not. Probably not. So I'm going to ask your opinion here. We're going to do a little on-air stuff here. Do you want to take the break now, or do you want to wait?
I think we can take it now, and then we should be good. That'll give us enough time, I think, to get him set up, hopefully. And then if not, we'll just keep it rolling until our final break we got to take.
You got it. Okay, so we'll take a break now on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now, from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
All right, Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia. Routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Lincoln, Kia, Hyundai. Fabulous new inventory. Great pre-owned inventory. And, of course, we tell you that Sunbury Motors is at 4th Street in Sunbury, and Sunbury Motors Kia is at Route 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. But on a day like this where they're clearing everything out, why don't you check everything out online at sunburymotors.com. All right. So, got basketball coming up tonight. Dick Girardi and I will be on hand for that one. Penn State and Wisconsin at the Kohl Center. Penn State looking for the sweep after beating Wisconsin 81-71 Saturday in the Jordan Center on a day where Myron Jones had 20. Myron Jones had 20 points. And there's some guys that go about their business in such a way where then you look down at the stat sheet and you say, holy cow. I'll give credit where credit's due. Aleem Ford of Wisconsin was like that. He ended up with 15 points in the game. Like, wow. Yeah, himself a pretty good game. Myron Jones, and Jim Ferry made the point in the postgame show. He said, well, we kind of feel like Myron should give us a little bit more. And he said he looked at the stat sheet, and he had 10 points. He thought, oh, man, I don't think I know what I'm talking about here. He literally said that. I don't think I know what I'm talking about. And then when you get to the postgame, you look and see Myron Jones has 20. Now, did it feel like Myron Jones had 20 points on Saturday? Now, Brock had the big slam. Harrah's working hard. So Brockington had 18 points. Harrah had 17. You notice that. And then you look down, the leading scorer was 8 of 12 from the field, 3 of 3 in threes, and had 20 points. You're like, wow. He had himself quite a game, didn't he? He didn't feel like you're sitting there watching this 20-point masterpiece. Some guys are like that. They just go about their business. And then you look down and say, wow, pretty good day. They're going to need more of that from him tonight, obviously. They'll have to do a good job defensively on Trice, and they're going to have to do a good job defensively on Davison. Because Trice is the kind of guy that can get going, and he's 6 for his last 23 from the field. Okay, so he's been fighting it a little bit of late, but he's the kind of guy that, boom, hits a couple shots, and away he goes. I mean, suddenly you look up, he's got 25. Davison is 6 for his last 26. Now, he's been struggling as well. But he's the kind of guy, especially at home, that can pop a couple threes and it can change the tone of the game. They did a good job on Potter the other day. Potter did not hit an outside shot. His makes were all dunks, literally, in the game. When he hurt Penn State last year, because he hit 3-point shots. And, that's where he hurt him. Well, he didn't hit one of those games. That's the way I think they both ended up with 7 made threes in the game. But that'll be tonight. Now, what does Bucknell have going on now? Now, Bucknell's only playing weekends, so who's next on the weekend slate here?
Loyola's coming to town this weekend.
Okay. All right.
Women are home Saturday. Men are home Monday night, actually. They're not playing on Super Bowl Sunday.
Monday night. All right, good. What, they didn't want to play Sunday night? I don't get this. What's the problem?
Hey, I'm okay with it. That was the one thing I was afraid of.
That's a joke. Yeah. Well, did I ever tell you the story? I was a lifelong New York Giants fan. Because I grew up in Connecticut. People think I'm a Patriots fan. This was the NFL, AFL. I was in our house, it was, the NFL, right? So the Giants are terrible. In 1966, they're 112-1, like a nut. I'm 8 years old at the time, like a knucklehead. I'm watching every game. They're 112-1. I'm watching every play. So they're not good. They get Fran Tarkenton, they're better. They hang in there. They don't make the playoffs. Pretty much think to myself, man, the team I'm rooting for is never going to go to the Super Bowl. So finally, Super Bowl 25 comes up, they make it. Super Bowl 21 comes up, they make it. They're going to play in the Rose Bowl against the Broncos. Wouldn't you know it? I have a game that day at St. Bonaventure up in Olean. So, well, and of course, you don't fly to Olean, right? You bus. Bus up, stay overnight. I think our game was at noon or something like that. Get on the bus, come back. I finally get my team into the Super Bowl. I missed the entire first quarter of the game. The first time I started looking at the game, I was dropping off the radio equipment in the sports information office. That doesn't matter. I'd rather have the job than the team winning the Super Bowl. I mean, you'd rather have the job. The job's better on an everyday basis, for goodness sakes. But I always thought that was ironic. They finally make it. And I'd always watched every quarter of every Super Bowl game. It was the first quarter of a Super Bowl game I ever missed. And it was when my team was playing.
Of course.
They won. Yeah, they won. Phil Simms had a great day. He was 22 of 25. Great day. That was a great team, too. Then when they won Super Bowl 25, that's where Bill Belichick made his mark. Everyone talks about, oh, look, Brady made the Super Bowl without Belichick. That's why the Patriots won. They had Brady. Well, Brady's a big reason why they won, but believe me, Belichick's a big reason, too. Belichick, people forget. Belichick had 2 Super Bowl rings before he went to New England because he was with the Giants as their defensive coordinator. So when they played the Bills with that explosive offense, Andre Reed, Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, they had some terrific players on that Bills team. It was Belichick who came up with the 2-4-5 defense for that game. They played 2 down linemen, utilized Lawrence Taylor as a 3rd down lineman, with their linebackers, Carl Banks, who had a good game, Harry Carson, I think Gary Reasons was the other one. Maybe it was Pepper Johnson. I think it was Gary Reasons. And then they utilized 5 defensive backs. And Belichick told them it was okay if Thurman Thomas gained 100 yards rushing. Well, the defense was furious about that. Nobody gets 100 yards against us. He said, look, if he's doing that, that means they're not scoring. And it was such a great defensive plan. That defensive plan book is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And let's see, that would have been, 1986 season? So Brady would have been 8 when Belichick won his first Super Bowl. So believe me, he's capable of winning without Brady. He may have been a coordinator, but he's capable of winning without Brady. He helped win too. So it's funny watching the show where they had Belichick and Parcells together. They said, "Yeah, there's our two right there," and then he looks over at the other two Super Bowl rings that they had in the case at MetLife Stadium, and he says, "Yeah, and those are the two of them," he says, "that we gave them." Talk about the Patriots losing to the Giants. Let's see. The Angels have suspended Mickey Callaway, former Mets manager, is now the pitching coach for the Angels. There's an Athletic story in which 5 women accused Callaway of lewd behavior. In a statement this afternoon, Marie Garvey, who's the Angels spokeswoman, said, "Late yesterday we were made aware of allegations reported in the Athletic. This morning we suspended Mickey Callaway and will work closely with Major League Baseball to conduct a full investigation." Callaway initially denied the wrongdoing, a source told ESPN, which prevents the Angels from firing him without cause. That could be reciprocated from an investigation. Major League Baseball and the Angels are hoping to wrap up that investigation relatively soon, perhaps before the start of spring training. The 5 women, all of whom spoke to the Athletic anonymously and work in sports media, accused Callaway of inappropriate behavior that included sending shirtless photos, requesting nude pictures, and in one instance thrusting his crotch on a reporter's face while she attempted an interview. The behavior spanned 5 years, according to the story, and his employment with 3 organizations, including his stint with the Cleveland Indians as a pitching coach and the Mets as a manager. In an email response to the Athletic, Callaway wrote, "Rather than rush to respond to these general allegations of which I have just been made aware, I look forward to an opportunity to provide more specific responses. Any relationship in which I engaged has been consensual, and my conduct in no way was intended to be disrespectful to any of the women involved. I'm married, and my wife has been made aware of these general allegations." The Athletic story came 2 weeks after ESPN reported a string of explicit, unsolicited text messages sent now former Mets general manager Jared Porter to a female reporter in 2016, one of which included an image. I'm not going to get into the image. Porter was promptly fired, but he owned up to the transgression. So there you go. That's the story on Mickey Callaway. Then there's Eric Bieniemy, who works for Brett Veach. Bieniemy has done a fabulous job. There's no getting around it. And he says, it's always about getting the right job, he said. Sometimes the job and the person have to connect. There has to be a connection. The only thing I can do is be my authentic self. That's who I am. I can only be me. Some team has to want me. For some reason, that chemistry has not been a fit. There's not been that opportunity to connect, but that's okay. At the end of the day, I have the opportunity to go out here and work for the Kansas City Chiefs, which is a great organization. I'm excited about the opportunity that's been presented to me. The other stuff, I can't control that. It's out of my control. The only thing I can worry about is today and moving forward, and I need to help our guys be the best they can be on Sunday. He said he's been dealing with the disappointment by focusing on the game Sunday. He said, "We've had a great deal of success here that's placed me in the situation where I've been recognized to interview for some jobs," Bieniemy said. "Those interviews, for whatever reason, I've not been hired, which is okay because at the end of the day, I still have the opportunity to go out there and help our team pursue and win and get our goal. Yes, there's a focal point where you are focused on that interview, but once the interview is over, it's time to turn the page. I can't sit here and dwell in pity because when all is said and done, I have a responsibility to the Kansas City Chiefs to make sure that we're mentally and physically ready to come to play game day. That's who I am. That's how I operate." Bieniemy also said, "I learned a long time ago how to persevere through adversity. The beauty of it is not so much that I have to persevere because that's going to take care of itself. It's making sure that whatever is taking place with Eric Bieniemy is not becoming a distraction to anybody pursuing their own dreams and goals." So that's what he said. All right, so what we'll do is we'll take a break. We'll see if we can get Brett on in a few moments as we continue on News Radio 1070 WKOK. All right, great to have you with us on the show today. Just so you know, if it doesn't work out with Brett Veach being on the show before 5 o'clock, we are working to still do something with him if he's available, and we think he will be after the show. That will air for you tomorrow. All right. So if he's not on now, we'll put him on tomorrow's show. That's what we're looking to do right now. The Chiefs have been great about it. I mean, the Chiefs have been fabulous about how to set this up. They have let us know at every turn about a delay here and a delay there. He just was doing an interview now. They had a video problem on Zoom. That's why there was another delay. These things happen, and that's not an issue. As much as we would like to see things work perfectly and smoothly and how everything fits into its own time slot, things happen. That is no issue for us. Last we checked, our ability to get him on the show is still going to happen, and it may not be during this particular time slot, but it'll then be in tomorrow's time slot. And guess what? That means you, the audience, will still get a chance to hear him, and that is important. I think it's important to him. I think it's important for him to have people hear him in his hometown, the hometown that meant so much to him along the way. And that'll be obviously one of the questions I will ask him at some point about what your youth sets a foundation for who you are along the way. And your hometown helps set that foundation. And this is something where, I can attest to in my life, my career. You people out there, let's face it, would not know where Enfield, Connecticut is on a map. Right? But I've mentioned it a few times. My brother has. Peter King, when Peter's been on, he's mentioned it. And living there and growing up there, because everybody I was around loves sports. We love sports. We were always 6 o'clock at night in the summertime on a dirt basketball court playing hoops. We'd go to a school, and we'd find a field, during the summer and play baseball. This is after we played a Little League season. There's so many things that we did, and we were always playing football, always. And that's the way it was. I grew up around a lot of kids that love sports the way I did. And that sets your foundation in a lot of ways for, what you like, what you dislike, maybe what you want to do, maybe what you don't want to do. And something tells me Mount Carmel did that for Brett Veach. And that certainly will be something that we'll ask him here when we get the opportunity to, and talk to him about that. It is remarkable, and you knew it was going to come up this week, and about the Brady-Bellichick thing. It's an infantile conversation. It really is. Look, coaches need players to make things happen. I talked about Belichick in his time with the New York Giants. Well, guess what? He had a defense that had Lawrence Taylor, Leonard Marshall, Harry Carson, Gary Reasons, Carl Banks. You can go on and on with the great play, right? Terry Killams. He had some terrific players on that defense. Terrific players. Schemes, you can draw up all the beautiful schemes you want. If you don't have the personnel to pull it off, okay? At the same time, you can have all the skilled players in the world, and if you have lousy schemes, you're still not going to get anywhere. So the two do work hand in hand. Talent makes, obviously, a huge difference. Brady made a gigantic difference in what the Patriots were able to do. There's no getting around it. He's a phenomenal player. But then you get into these weeks where it becomes that infantile conversation, and that's what it is. It's infantile to me. Where, who's more responsible? For goodness sakes. You know what? Lesser talent around him, lesser players around him, Brady is still going to be really good, but does he win 6 Super Bowls? I don't know. Belichick does his part. Brady does his part. They won 6 of them. There's 10 years where they didn't win a Super Bowl. But you get into these just worthless debates. Okay? You got an absolutely phenomenal player. You got an absolutely phenomenal coach. And one should not take away from the other. I just don't. I understand we're in this 24/7 world of talk. I get that. But we get into these worthless debates. After the AFC-NFC championship game, I'm listening to somebody, a show, and I don't listen to too many of these. But it was an ESPN show, naturally. Who's greater, Brady or LeBron? I'm like, oh, for God's sakes, they play different sports. Who cares? It doesn't matter. Yeah. I think one of the obligations of doing these shows is that you try to tell everybody how it really is. In other words, when I mean like how it really is, when I'm talking about, okay, let's just take something that's recent. So Penn State's playing Wisconsin, right, in basketball. We talked about the speed, and then when you look at a Maryland tape, you can see that Maryland would probably be a team more similar to Penn State, and how they gave Wisconsin trouble. And there are a couple spots where Maryland's better than Penn State, but there are a couple spots where Penn State's better than Maryland. And that's why you discuss going into the game the speed versus the power part inside, the patience part versus how you're able to fast break and make something happen, about keeping the man between the ball and the basket. Wisconsin might struggle to keep Penn State's speed in front of it. Conversely, how Wisconsin is able to hit key outside shots and how they run the swing offense, and the swing gives you a post on every single play. Every possession, somebody is posting up. And that can give Penn State trouble. That's what, to me, if you can do shows like that where you're at least giving somebody a foundation as to either what they just looked at or what they should be looking for in a game, to me, I may be way off base here. But that's more valuable than, what do you think? Who's better, Brady or Belichick? I just don't think, I think that's worthless conversation. It's worthless. Okay? We're going to get Brett Veach here on the show here at some point. Okay? Well, one of the things I want to talk to him about is about roster construction. And to me, there's been a brilliance to what Brett did with roster construction. And that's probably going to be the first question I ask him, because with the salary cap and everything like that, he's kept his core group together. And that's been important.
When it comes to car buying, there's the other guy's way, and then there's the SMC way. The other guys force you into a vehicle you really don't want. The Sunbury Motors way lets you take the time you need to browse, ask questions, and take the test drive and think on it. For over 100 years, the Mertz family and all their employees have made your experience the most pleasant one you'll ever have. The other guys won't offer you the best price for your trade, no matter how much they say they will. The SMC way is their promise to provide you with the most money the market shows your vehicle is worth. The SMC way is to offer you all applicable factory rebates on new vehicles and generous discounts. Looking for a pre-owned vehicle? The SMC way checks each vehicle with a 200-mile radius to determine the lowest price, then beat it. It's the lowest price promise, just part of the SMC way. The choice is up to you, the other guy's way or the SMC way. The SMC way wins every time. Sunbury Motors Company in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and at sunburymotors.com. Selling more cars and satisfying more customers for over 100 years.